Over the 12 years, I have come up with my top 10 list of things related to diet and exercise. If I'm looking at trying to become healthier and lose weight, if that's one of my goals, or maintain my weight even. So you're going to see my top 10 list. I really enjoy giving this presentation because I strongly believe in the things that I'm talking about. They're little things. They're not big things that you have to change. They're very small things that can make a big difference in your life. So we're going to get started with the first slide, and that is on creating a SMART goal. If you did the Wellness Challenge this year, this is one of the things that we incorporated. We created a whole flyer for you on the SMART goal because we know how important it is. So the SMART goal, if you look at your handout, it says at the top, My SMART Health Action Plan. Let's say my goal is, since we're talking about healthy lifestyle and weight loss here today too, my goal is to lose 25 pounds. Okay, that is under the number one topic. It says list areas in which you would like to see improvement. Well, I would like to see my weight lowered. Okay, so I'd like to lose 25 pounds. Number two is write a SMART goal for achieving this. What we mean is to use the acronym SMART, which stands for specific, measurable, attainable, reward, and timeline based. Use those 5 characteristics when you create your goal. So, for example, I want to lose 25 pounds. I want to be very specific with that. I want to measure it. Okay, can I lose 25 pounds? I want to lose 25 pounds in 6 months. Okay? Is that really achievable? Is that attainable? Well, if it's not attainable, if I go back and say, okay, that's probably not doable, then I need to create a new goal. My goal now is to lose 5 pounds in the next 6 weeks. Okay? That's time-based, which is nice. I also want to have something that attainable is one A word, but I like accountable as well. It is known fact, and I know for myself it works this way too, that if I have someone that knows that I'm doing this, that I'm working on this, I am more likely to stick with my action plan. So, for example, if I know that I'm weighing in 2 days, and this person knows I'm weighing in, and they're weighing in with me, I am not going to have that piece of cake for dessert 2 days before, you know? I'm going to go, no, I have to weigh in 2 days, so I'm going to avoid that. I am more likely to stick to my plan. Whereas if I didn't have someone who's accountable, and that person might be a stranger, okay? It might be like you're in Weight Watchers and it's a weekly meeting you go to. It might be a spouse, a neighbor, a friend, even over phone or online that you can check in with. But you're more likely to stay with that goal. If I didn't have that person, I would more likely to say, you know, I'm just going to have that cake. I'll do better tomorrow. I'll eat better, healthier tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes along and you have cake leftovers. So then you have cake leftovers too. So that goal of trying to lose that 5 pounds in 6 weeks is going to be much harder to obtain because I'm not accountable to anyone except for myself, and it's easy to cheat myself. So having someone to be accountable to or something. Then what I believe very strongly in as well is reward. All right? Let's say, and this happens to all of us too, my goal is to lose 15 pounds. I lose 15 pounds in 3 months. I really am looking forward to people telling me, wow, you look good. Did you lose weight? And 3 months passes and no one tells me I lost weight. No one says anything. Okay, I'm trying to look out for outside reward. I want someone to tell me, you know, oh, you look like you lost weight, you look good. But if I don't get that, then it's almost like a failure to me. So all that work I just put in the last 3 months to eat healthier, to exercise, to do all those things, all of a sudden I feel like I've just failed. And I go back to my old habits because that's just easier, you know, and you wallow in that like, no one noticed, you know. If instead my reward is my own, if instead I set a reward for myself, if I lose the 15 pounds in 3 months, I'm going to buy an iPod so I like my exercise better. Or I'm going to invest in that new pair of shoes so that I can, you know, my knees, I know my knees will feel better when I keep, so I can continue to exercise. Or I'm going to invest in that air pop popcorn machine because I know it's healthier. I don't have to use butter to do it. You know, what is going to be your reward that you're going to get, that you're going to give yourself, so you don't rely on what other people tell you? It's a reward you know you're going to get no matter what. regardless of what anybody else says. So these 5 characteristics are extremely important. This sheet actually right here you can use for any of your goals. You can make copies of it if you want to. Use it throughout the years to set your goals. This is something that our wellness coaches use. If you ever did a one-on-one wellness coach session with some of our certified wellness coaches at the fitness center, they use this type of action plan with people. It's shown to be very, very successful. More so than if I just said, I want to lose 25 pounds. Well, when? And how are you going to do it? And what's going to happen if you achieve that? And who are you going to be accountable to? I'm more likely to achieve my goal with those things. So that first handout can be very helpful. Create a SMART goal. You can use it for anything too. It doesn't have to be weight loss. You could use it for financial goals, spiritual goals, social goals. You can use it for anything. Number 2 is use the food guide pyramid. There's a reason why it was created. It was created because it was created by dietitians, nutritionists. They know what kind of vitamins, minerals, proteins, carbohydrates, fats that our body needs. This is what it was based off, sound nutrition principles from what our body needs. So what we want to do is know how do I use it for myself? I find that confusing too, because they come up and they change the pyramid, every 10 or 15 years. They reevaluate it and change it a little bit. And it can become a little confusing to know. It used to be, if anybody remembers from school, you need 6 to 12 servings of grains, and you need 3 to 5 servings of vegetables, and 2 to 3 servings of fruit. Well, how many do I need? Do I need 6 or do I need 12 servings of grains? Do I need 3 or do I need 5? How do I know? So what you do with the next handout that we have, it says My Pyramid on the top, and it says Food Intake Patterns. I'm going to actually have you turn it over to the back side, where it says estimated daily calorie needs, okay? And that shows you a calorie range. It's going to give you a calorie range to maintain your weight for different genders and different ages. So let's say I'm a 40-year-old female, age 31 to 50, then that's my range. If my daily activity is pretty sedentary, let's say I have a job where I sit most of the day, okay? Then I need about 1,800 calories to maintain my current weight. If I have a job where I'm very, very active, let's say all day long, I am on my feet, walking back and forth, up and down the halls, wherever I am. I pretty much hardly ever sit down or ever stand still. I'm really active. Then I need about 2,200 calories to maintain my current weight. Okay? So then what you do with that calorie range, let's say I'm the sedentary one, okay, I either stand all day long or I sit all day long, I need 1,800 calories. So then I flip it over to the My Pyramid side, the front side, and I look at the table that says daily amount of food from each food group. And under there it has a calorie level row, and I find the 1,800 calories there in that row. And then if I just follow straight down, I can see that I need 1.5 cups of fruit, 2.5 cups of vegetables, 6 ounces of grain, 5 ounces of meats. So I know that if I need 1,800 calories, that's what I need. That's where I should find that from. And what I even like even better is if you go down to the bottom, there's a vegetable subgroup amounts. It tells me how many servings of dark green vegetables I need, and orange, and beans. Okay, because there's different vitamins and minerals in those different kinds of vegetables and beans and proteins and those kind of things there. So it's even more information for me to go off to help create a healthy eating plan for me. If I create a plan based on these food groups, I'm more likely to get all of the nutrients that I need, so I'm going to feel better. And if I feel better, I'm going to have more energy. And if I have more energy, I'm going to go out and walk after work. I'm going to be able to sleep, go to bed at the right time. I'm not going to need caffeine in the morning, which throws off my sleeping patterns and makes me more hungry, by the way. So there are things that my body's going to run more efficiently. I'm going to burn fat for fuel more efficiently. Those kind of things are going to happen. So this is a way to find out how many calories you need. Now let's say I'm a sedentary person. I want to lose weight. I don't just want to maintain. Well, then I need to not eat 1,800 calories because that's just going to help me maintain. I need to eat less than that. Does anybody know how many calories you need to burn off a pound of body fat? Has anybody ever heard that number before? How many calories? You need to expend 3,500 calories to lose 1 pound of body fat, okay? So 3,500 calories beyond what your body needs. There's a certain number of calories your body needs every day so the liver functions, so the brain functions, so the kidney functions. If you were stuck in the bed all day long, there's a certain number of calories that you need, okay? So I can do one of two things to burn off those extra 3,500. I can exercise, or I can cut calories from my diet that my body doesn't absolutely need to have because I'm not trying to maintain weight, or I can do a combination of both those things, okay? One thing we recommend is that you never eat less than 1,200 calories a day, okay? If you're a woman, usually with men, less than about 1,500 calories a day, without actually consulting your physician, because you do want to know how many calories your body needs. What's great about, at Mercy Fitness Center, we have the metabolic testing machine. So if you really want to know exactly how many you need, we can actually scientifically show that. We have you sit in a room, nice quiet room. We have you wear a mask that collects the oxygen you breathe in, and then the carbon dioxide you exhale. Since oxygen is involved in the metabolic process to burn fuel in your body, and carbon dioxide is the byproduct of that, we can tell exactly how many calories your body needs on a daily basis. So for me, if I sat in a chair and did nothing all day long, that metabolic rate for me is 1,400 calories, okay? So I know that if I had a sedentary job where I sat all day, I need about 1,800 to maintain my weight. I can only cut 400 calories from my diet every day though, because I don't want to go below the 1,400 because that's how many calories all the organs need in my body to function correctly, so that I maintain my muscle and don't use my muscle for fuel, all right? So that bottom number is very important. And what we usually say for people is don't go below 1,200 because there are a lot of people that are between that 1,200 and 1,400 range if we're looking at women. Men, it's usually a little higher with that, a couple hundred calories higher. But if you want to know specifically, that's available for you. So I can either cut out 400 calories from my diet every day, or I can exercise 400 calories off, or I can do a combination of both, okay? If at my height and weight, if I walked for 15 minutes, so I walked a mile in 15 minutes, that's a pretty good pace, I would burn about 80 calories. So if I walk for 30 minutes, I would burn about 160 in that 30-minute time frame, okay? So if I want to burn 400 calories a day, then I could exercise longer, or I could take out 200 calories from my diet, all right? For example, with our juice bottles we have here, we were just looking at this, Lynn and I. It's a 16-ounce bottle, like the orange juice, was a 16-ounce bottle of orange juice. That 16-ounce bottle of orange juice, that's apple juice she has there, but that size, 220 calories right there. So if I drank usually that every morning or during the day, I could cut that out of my diet, drink water instead, for example, instead of having the juice, and that would be a way to get rid of that 200 calories. Okay? So now, the other thing to look at is that since I can only cut 400 calories out of my diet a day, in 7 days, I could burn 2,800 calories. That's not the 3,500 I need to lose a pound, is it? So it's going to take me, I've got an extra 700 calories to go, it's going to take me an extra 2 days. So I can burn a pound of body fat, in 9 days, okay? So what I think is that that's so important is because if you get on the scale every 3 days or every 4 days and you're looking to see how many pounds you lost and you haven't, and you're disappointed and you're like, what the heck? Why am I even doing this? It might not be possible for you to lose a pound in 4 days. It might take, like for me, it might take 9 days to do, okay? So it's good to know that information, all right? But this will help you make sure you put the right kinds of foods in your body based on how many calories your body needs. And it's an estimation. It's a good place to start, all right? If we look at the next slide we have, choose low-calorie, high-nutrient foods. So if I look at fruit, 1 serving of fruit is about 1 cup of cut fruit, 1 cup of strawberries, 1 medium-sized orange or apple or banana, usually somewhere between 60 and 80 calories, that is. That is going to be a better option for me, the whole fruit, than the juice, okay? Because the juice doesn't have usually the fiber in it because they take all the pulp. The juice a lot of times has a lot more extra sugar in it. And a lot of times if I order juice or I pour it at home, I'm not pouring 6 ounces, which is actually 4 ounces is actually what a serving is, if you look at it. And 4 ounces is like this much. So I'm not pouring a Dixie cup, full of juice and then drinking that all day for breakfast. So I can get more out of the actual fruit. It's lower in calories, but it's higher in nutrients. All right, that's one example with the fruit situation. Vegetables are great. 15 to 30 calories in a cup of cooked vegetables, okay? That's fantastic. Now, one thing that's harder for a lot of us is when we have vegetables, we have to have butter, okay? Or we have to have some sort of, we have a salad and we have to have ranch dressing all over it, like the regular stuff. So if I think of like 1 tablespoon of butter, just 1 tablespoon has 100 calories, that's a lot of extra calories to put on my whole cup of broccoli, which altogether is only 30, I could have 3 cups of broccoli for 100 calories, or I could have 1 tablespoon of butter. Which is more calorie, has less calories and more nutrient dense. If I could find a way to eat the steamed vegetables or the cold vegetables in a healthier manner, that would be great. So what can I do? Well, we know that olive oil is good. We know that a tablespoon of olive oil is about 100 calories. So although we have those extra calories, we definitely need those good fats in our body. So could I maybe spray on some olive oil onto that, that vegetable? Maybe just do a little spray on it. Could I maybe spray some fat-free dressing on there or low-fat dressing? Now, salad dressings aren't all bad. They do have some good oil in them, which is nice. It's just that, if I have 2 tablespoons of ranch dressing, I could get about 150 calories in 2 tablespoons. Do I want that many calories for my vegetables? No. Can I try a lighter version of that dressing? That might be an option. Can I just do plain steam and don't add any of the oils or anything or fats to them and just do some seasoning? Just do some salt-free seasoning. Can I do something like that? Can I mix the vegetables in with other foods like in soups or mix it with something else that I'm eating so that maybe a little bit of that other food sauce gets on the vegetable and makes it taste different, gives it a little bit of flavor? Can I do other things to it? So that's going to be lower calorie, higher nutrient dense. Then I look at milk and yogurt. About 80 calories is a serving. That's about a 6-ounce serving of yogurt, about an 8-ounce serving of milk. Has usually about 25 to 30% of your calcium needs for the day, which is fantastic. If you go with skim, then you have the 80 calorie version. If you go with 1%, you're going to add it's about 100 calories for 1%. I think 2% is like 120, something like that. Basically what you're doing, the difference between skim and whole milk and 1% and 2% is saturated fat. That's what it is. It's not calcium, it's saturated fat. So we all know saturated fat, that's not good for me. I heard that wasn't good for me. It's not. So when you're drinking your milk or your yogurt, keep that in mind. The one thing you do want to keep in mind is if you're just drinking milk for some calcium, it does need to have a little bit of fat in it because vitamin D helps absorb calcium and vitamin D needs fat to be absorbed. It's a fat soluble vitamin. So in that case, if I'm drinking just a 1% milk, that's great. If that's just what I'm doing at my 10 o'clock snack to get some calcium in, then I would do something that has a little fat in it, all right? But if I'm gonna be drinking my milk with dinner at night and I know I have some fat in the food I'm eating, most foods do, then I could do the skim milk and save myself some of that saturated fat that's not good for my cholesterol, for example, and it's higher in calories, all right? So those are some options. Also, ice cream. It's not a great food option if you're looking for dairy, okay? About 2% of your calcium needs in a half a cup. Half a cup of ice cream has 100 to 200 calories in it, depending on what you get. So that's not a great option for your calcium needs. I once had a friend who drank like a whole huge milkshake every day in the summer. And he said, "What do you mean that's not my calcium?" No, that's your sugar for the day, but it's not your calcium. All right, that leads me to my next one. Watch your high-calorie beverages. Okay, simple thing to do that can cut calories from your diet, help you lose weight or maintain your weight easily. 1 can of regular pop, that's just 12 ounces. A lot of times nowadays we buy the 20-ounce bottles. But 1 can is 165 calories. If you get that 20-ounce bottle of, say, like Pepsi, out of the vending machine, you're going to get 210, 230 calories. Now, if I needed that, if I was trying to watch my diet and I wanted to lose weight, and so I'm on that 1,400 calorie plan, I already just spent 200 and some calories on pop, on sugar. That's it. And do I have room for the other good foods that I need? Lemonade. My dad owned a restaurant for 30 some years. And I always laughed when people were trying to watch their diet, would order lemonade because you think it's healthier. You think it's not pop, it's better for me. I'm trying to watch what I'm eating, so I'm not going to drink the pop. I'm going to order lemonade instead. No, lemonade is just sugar, water. That's all it is. So you look at 12 ounces of lemonade, 150 calories. If you go to a restaurant, that's probably the smallest glass you're going to get, is 12 ounces, okay? Most of the time, how we served it at our restaurant, it was a 20 ounce glass, okay? That's just how we served our drinks, was 20 ounce glass. So you're looking for this lemonade, I'm looking at more like 220 calories for just the drink, okay? So can we look at and see what kind of drinks that we're having that we think are low calorie, but they're not? Crystal Light, that's better. That's like 5 calories for 8 ounces. So I might get just 10 calories in 16 ounces. That's a better option if you like the lemonade flavor. You want something to flavor your water. I talked about the juice already. 8 ounces of juice. This is orange juice, 110 calories. Again, I could have 2 oranges for that same amount of calories. Better option. Gatorade. This is key. If you have kids or grandkids, or you yourself do this, I see people who go out and exercise for 30 minutes, even if it's a run for 30 minutes, or walk for 30 minutes, or elliptical trainer for 30 minutes, and then they have the Gatorade when they're all done. You don't need Gatorade if you've just exercised for 30 minutes. You might need Gatorade if you've exercised for 60 minutes, okay, especially in hot weather, because Gatorade's job is to give you calories to keep going for longer periods of time and to replenish the potassium, the sodium, the electrolytes in your system that you've sweated so profusely out, okay? But normally in 30 minutes, we're not completely drenched in sweat, and we haven't burned so many calories that we need to, and we're not keeping going, we're stopping. So there's really no reason to continue to give ourselves calories while we're exercising. We don't need them, okay? Now, if you had kids who played basketball for 2 hours in a row, yeah, Gatorade's a good option. Or they were soccer players and they run nonstop for an hour and a half, Gatorade's a good option for them to have during their event because they need those extra calories for their muscles to keep moving. But if my goal is weight loss, that's not the kind of thing that's going to help me lose weight. Water is going to be the best option. If I'm training for a marathon, Gatorade might be a good option, all right? But I'm sure that makes sense. We don't really need that for shorter periods of exercise. And alcohol. Wow. You know, everybody knows it has calories in it. But do you really know how many calories are in it? That's the key. So we look at like the beers. This is a Coors Light. It's 105 calories for a can. The hard lemonade, this is a big popular version with like my brother's age group, the 20s, the 30s. So 240 calories. 240. And then the pina colada, oh, I think this is a travesty. When you go to a Mexican restaurant and they have margaritas and pina coladas and daiquiris, 4 ounces, again, not so much, 4 ounces. I don't even think they serve a 4-ounce pina colada at like Carlos O'Kelly's. I don't think you can even get it. I think they're probably the smallest glass they probably have is a 10 or a 12 ounce. So if it's 240 calories for 4 ounces of a pina colada, let's look at what they normally serve, at least 8 or 10. It's at least 600 calories for that one drink. At least 600 calories for a drink. You haven't even had the chips yet. Mind you that you get 140 calories per like 5 or 6 chips before you eat, and you haven't had dinner yet. So you could easily consume 1,500 calories at a Mexican restaurant. Easily consume that. So can we cut some of that out? Yeah, we can cut 600 calories right off the bat by ordering water instead of the drink. Or a diet pop instead. You know, we can do that right away. That's an easy way to watch and try to maintain our weight. The last thing I love to look at too is caffeine. We do know that caffeine acts as a diuretic. That's not a new thing. 8 ounces of coffee in the morning, probably not going to make a big difference. 1 diet pop, not going to make a big difference. But if you consistently have numerous cups, like let's say you have 3 cups or more of coffee, that's 8-ounce cup. So if you had a large container, consider how many is there. If you add the 2 20-ounce bottles of pop, 2 or 3 cans of diet pop, regular pop, That caffeine can act as a diuretic and cause some of the water to go through your system and be leached out of your system, and then you have not as much water left in your body. And water is a very important thing for fat metabolism, because your kidneys need water to metabolize correctly, okay? They need hydration. If they don't have proper hydration, then the liver has to come over and help the kidneys do their job, okay? Liver has to do part of the job. One of the liver's jobs is to metabolize fat. So guess what the liver's not doing if there's not enough water in the body? It's not metabolizing as much fat as you'd like it to. So if we can stay hydrated, we can have every organ doing its own job and everything is running smoothly. So water, very important. The other thing I like to point out is caffeine increases your appetite. It makes you hungrier. So if I go out to eat, I try very hard if I go out to eat not to order a diet soda. Because I'm more likely to eat more food at that sitting. I'm more likely to sit there with that plate longer. What happens is caffeine kind of makes your blood sugar a little lower. And so that signals to your body that you need to eat food to raise your blood sugar level. So then you're going to sit there and you're going to eat more food when you have that caffeinated beverage. And that includes coffee or the diet pop or the regular pop, anything that has caffeine in it. Watch it next time if you have caffeine, and then do it again and order a non-caffeinated version or water, and see, you know what? I was not as hungry when I had the water than was when I had the caffeine pop. I like Diet Mountain Dew, but now I do it caffeine-free. You know, if I have a Diet Mountain Dew, I can get the cans with the caffeine-free. And it doesn't taste the same, really, but I am not as hungry as when I have the caffeine version. It really makes a big difference. So a little thing that can make a big difference. Trans fats. Oh, these are horrible. We've all heard of these. They're called partially hydrogenated oils. If you look at your food label, they come in things like bread, crackers, baked goods, cereals. Okay, they come in all those things. So anything that's put on a shelf that has to stay there for a while very likely has a trans fat in it. Why are trans fats bad? Well, they're one molecule close to being plastic. That's not great. They lower your good cholesterol. And I like to call the good cholesterol your HDL, all right? Your HDL level, for men, we would like men to be above 40 with their HDL, women above 50. The HDL is kind of like the janitor in your arteries. They go out and they clear the LDL, the clogging cholesterol, they clear it out of your arteries so that you don't have plaque that develops in your arteries. So if I lose all the janitors, I'm in trouble. Not only is that a bad thing though, trans fats raise your bad cholesterol. They raise your LDL. So now I have more litter in my arteries and less janitors to pick it up. All right? That's why there are certain countries like Denmark, for example, has banned trans fats in the entire country. You cannot serve trans fats in Denmark. And now in New York City, that's a new rule. You cannot have trans fats in the restaurants in New York City. This is something part of that new health act that was passed. They're trying to include this in all the restaurants in the United States. They wanted to pass this on. It's so important. The recommended amount of trans fats in your diet is 0. You don't need any. So it's important for us to try to keep those out of our diet as much as possible. One thing that manufacturers will do to fool you into thinking that you're buying something that doesn't have trans fats is they'll put on your food label, like your crackers or your bread, trans fat free. That doesn't mean it doesn't have trans fats. If you look closely, if it says trans fat free, small letters, per serving, chances are, if you go to the ingredient section, you're going to find partially hydrogenated oil in that ingredient section. That is a trans fat. Legally, what the FDA says is that if something has less than a half a gram of fat in it or less than a half a gram of trans fat, they don't have to actually say that it actually has a trans fat in it per serving. So the manufacturer, maybe their serving size before was 8 crackers, now it's 6. Because now the trans fat is less than a half a gram per serving, and they can call it that, and they can market it like that, and you're going to buy it because of it says that. But don't be fooled. Look at the ingredient section. Stay away from the foods that have that partially hydrogenated oil in them. So this is great. You just have to buy a different version of cracker or a different version of bread. You can still eat crackers and bread, even cookies, but buy a version that has no trans fats in it. Look at the ingredients, right? And you'll be healthier right off the bat. There are also some different margarine substitutes. Margarine is all trans fat, pretty much, Okay, that's how it's made. So that's why they say butter can sometimes be better than margarine, because butter is saturated fat, not trans fat. That's why they say that, but saturated fat, not good for us either. So there's some other substitutes here, Benecol, Take Control, Smart Start, that are good options. All right, I love this study. They did a nurses study. I think they had something like 40,000 nurses or more. I mean, it was a huge study. What they found out was that the nurses who ate 3 servings of whole grains a day, so that means I ate 3 pieces of whole wheat bread a day. I had whole wheat toast in the morning, and I had a turkey sandwich on whole wheat bread in the afternoon. They cut out their risk of dying of every single thing, every illness you can imagine, by 50%. 50. Because they ate 3 servings of whole wheat bread a day. We can all do that, you know? We don't have to exercise an hour a day. We don't have to diet 500 calories off a day. We have to eat 3 servings of whole wheat bread a day, you know? It could be whole wheat pasta. It could be bran or any whole grain, brown rice, the oats. Those are the things that you can do. Simple. Just purchase a different type of bread. Make sure you look at the ingredients label. It should say whole wheat flour, not enriched whole wheat flour. Make sure it says, or whole oats, whole grain, not enriched, that version. So look at the ingredients. Sometimes the packaging can be very tricky and very sinister-like in that too. So look at the ingredients. Very easy thing. All right, then following the fitness pyramid. We all know that walking's good for me or biking's good for me. I should get out and move. That's important. But do we know much about strength training, and do we know much about stretching and how they can help us? So if we look at the bottom of the pyramid, of the fitness pyramid, it has cardiovascular exercise. That's where most of our activity comes from. And we will talk about the FIT principle in the next slide. But strength training, I was just reading something about strength training. They actually recommend, even if you're 80 years old, to do a strength training and start a strength training routine, and that everybody can benefit from it. We choose about 8 muscle groups in the body. So we usually choose a chest exercise, a back exercise, shoulders. We choose biceps, triceps, abdominals, front of the legs, quadriceps, and back of the legs, hamstrings. Those are all the muscles that are involved in keeping your joints healthy. This helps with bone density as well. This helps with metabolism, maintaining your metabolism. After the age of 40, we all start losing muscle as a natural process of aging. So why is it that, at 45 or at 50, we've gained that extra 5 or 10 pounds and it's hard for us to get it off? Because our metabolism is slowed, because we've started to lose the muscle. But that doesn't have to happen. You can strength train to put the muscle back in your body. But then strength training needs to be done for the rest of your life to keep that muscle there. And then you have to do it for a purpose. You have to do it to try to gain muscle. If you're over 40, okay? If you're under 40, you don't have to do it for that purpose. But if you're over 40, since I'm constantly losing just by aging, I no longer can try to maintain. I have to gain muscle to maintain my muscle, if that makes sense. Okay? Since I'm constantly going downhill, it doesn't do me good to just sit down at the machine and go, I'll do the 30 pounds. I've done that for the last 4 weeks, and that's okay. I'll just do 15. I could probably do 10 more, but wait, I'll just stop. All right, that's not going to get you far because you're not gaining muscle. You're just doing kind of the status quo, okay? So you need to make sure you challenge the muscle to get yourself stronger. That's got to be your purpose, because that will help you maintain weight. Some people think that you're going to get burly muscles, big, strong, bulky muscles. You won't. It's not going to happen, especially over 40. It's not going to happen. Okay, you're just trying to maintain your muscle. Under 40, if you have that natural build to get bulky with that muscle, that's possible. But over 40, no, it's really not going to happen like that. Okay, you'd have to be a special version of human being to have that happen. So we do strength training about 2 to 3 times a week, never 2 days in a row, and those 8 to 10 exercises. And they recommend really about 2 to 3 sets. This says 1 to 3. 2 is what I've seen. You actually gain about 50% more strength if you do 2 sets than if you did 1. So 2 sets is better. And the number of repetitions, somewhere between 6 and 15 repetitions. So if I grab some dumbbells in my hands and I want to train my biceps, and I'm lifting, let's say they're 8-pound dumbbells, I lift up and down, that's 1 repetition. This is 2 repetitions. I go until I can't lift correctly anymore. That would mean I'm cheating, like, oh, I have to lean back to lift. Okay, that's not correct anymore, I could hurt my back. So, okay, I stopped at 8 repetitions. Okay, that's good. That's between 6 and 15, so great. I have 8 pounds, I did it 8 repetitions, I did 1 set of 8. I could go and do another exercise or 2 and then come back and do a second set of 8 repetitions, okay? Now, what's so nice about this is that this may be really confusing to you right now. You don't know how you're going to start this. That's why we have a fitness center at Mercy. So even if you have some stuff at home, you just never used it, you don't know how, you can come to the fitness center, you can do a personal training session or 2 to learn how to use your equipment at home, and then we can set something up for you, okay? You don't have to be a member of the fitness center. Or we have a wonderful facility that, of course, you can be a member of too. But those are those options, okay? Consider doing strength training. Stretching, if I'm tight, my body just says, oh, just sit here. We're so tight, just sit here. Okay, so I don't get up and move as much. If I'm flexible, my body's all about getting out, moving around. So stretching's a key factor too. One of the handouts that I have for you is on stretching. Key things about stretching, make sure you hold for 20 seconds to improve your flexibility. If my hamstrings, the back of my legs are tight, I'm going to lean back a little bit when I walk or sit or stand, and that's going to hurt my lower back. Has a chance of that. So stretching out your hamstring can help alleviate lower back soreness or prevent that from happening. If my quadriceps are tight, then I'm going to actually be shifted forward a little bit, and that's going to put more pressure on my knees. So now every time I walk, I'm going to feel it in my knees. So sometimes stretching out your quadriceps will help alleviate knee pain. My calves, the calf muscles here in the back of my leg, lower half, if they're tight, when I start my walks, let's say I go on a walk, I want to start walking, I'm going to go out for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. If my calves are tight, I'm more likely to develop shin splints, and I'm more likely to develop plantar fasciitis. So I want to keep my calves flexible too, all right? So the stretching can be very, very important. And one thing I love too, since a lot of us have computer jobs or we work over patients, we're in this position a lot. So the shoulders are drawn forward because the chest is getting tighter. So what we do is we grab your hands behind your back, pull the shoulders back, stretch out your chest. That can help with your posture, right? Instead of being like this. We know that as we get older this happens. I know I've seen it happen to me. I want to avoid that. I want to stand up taller, but I've got to stretch out those muscles in order to even allow me to stand up tall like this, okay? So those stretches are all on that handout. Stretches are best done when your muscles are warm. So in the morning is not the greatest time to go stretch, unless you've already walked for 30 minutes, for example. Do it when your muscles are warmer. They'll go further. Okay, here's that FIT principle for a cardiovascular exercise. Frequency. How many days a week should I exercise? Most days of the week. If you're looking at weight loss, they actually recommend about 5 days a week, 5 to 6. If you're looking at weight maintenance or just for health, you can do 3 times a week. Intensity, how hard? On one of the handouts that I have for you, there's a section on how to estimate what your heart rate should be, okay? It takes you through how to get what your heart rate range should be for exercise. There's also, on the back side of that handout, there's something called the RPE scale, which stands for Rating of Perceived Exertion Scale. And it's just a big chart with some numbers on it. I like this because you don't have to stop and take your pulse to see if you're going hard enough. You ask yourself how hard do you feel like you're going. So what you do on a scale of 6 to 20, 6 meaning that my breathing effort is very, very light. It's not too much different from rest. 20, it's so hard I gotta stop or slow down. You wanna be at least going at an 11, okay? At an 11, fairly light. It's not light, it's not hard, it's kind of fairly light. So if you're not at least going fairly light, you're not going hard enough. You have to bump up your intensity, okay? If you're by yourself, that works. If you're with someone else, the talk test is a great thing. You should be able to talk to someone as you're exercising, but you shouldn't be able to carry on the conversation by yourself. If you can tell a whole story and not have to take a breath, then you're not going hard enough, okay? So when you're talking to somebody, that's a great opportunity. Sometimes I'm on the elliptical trainer and I'm working out, and sometimes I wonder, am I really going hard enough? And then one of my coworkers will come up to me and ask me a question, and I'll be like huffing and puffing trying to answer the question. And I know I'm going hard enough because I can tell it's hard for me to talk when I'm exercising, okay? So those are some easy things to do. And then how much time do I want to spend on that exercise? 30 to 60 minutes. If my goal is weight loss, it's longer. If anybody saw that Good Morning America study they showed, women need to do about 60 minutes of exercise, about 6 days a week, in order to lose weight, is what they showed, or even maintain their weight as they get older. That was what the latest study showed. 30 minutes if I'm looking at health purposes, okay? 30 minutes 3 times a week is actually the very, very minimum we've seen affect your blood pressure or your cholesterol. It probably won't affect your weight too much, but it's the very minimal for blood pressure and cholesterol, stress management, that kind of thing, okay? More days a week, more minutes for the weight management. And I think my little example of when I go for a 30-minute walk, someone my height, weight, would burn about 160 calories. If I did that 3 times a week, that's about 480 calories. So if I exercise 3 times a week for 30 minutes, I burn 480 calories. If I have to burn 3,500 to lose a pound, it's going to take me 7 weeks of 3 times a week, 30 minutes to lose a pound. So if my goal is to lose weight, and I don't want to wait 7 weeks to see 1 pound lost, I might want to exercise a little bit more. More days a week, more minutes. That makes sense. What type of exercise? Walking, biking, swimming, aerobics class. All of those things that increase your heart rate. Use a pedometer. Pedometers are great, and I think at Mercy we've used pedometers quite a bit here for some of the other challenges we've had. You probably know that you've heard the 10,000 steps a day. That equals about 5 miles a day. That was just a number that they threw out there to try to get us more active. The average American spends about 2,500 steps a day is what they've seen. So what I recommend is put the pedometer on in the morning, wear it all day long, all night long. At the end of the night, when you take it off, check and see how many steps you just expired. Maybe you did the 2,500. Wow, how many they tell me I'm supposed to step? I'm supposed to step 10,000, and I just did 2,500. So make the next day you go out. Make the next day, hey, my goal is to do 3,000 today. I'm gonna do 500 more steps today. How am I gonna do that? I can take the steps up and down at work. I can park further away, that far parking lot I usually hate. Get those extra steps in. Then maybe you do that for that week. Then the next week you do 3,500 steps. So add another 500 steps to try to increase in getting the number of steps. By doing that, you're going to be burning more calories, all right? Just by the nature of moving more, you're burning more calories. So that'll help with weight loss, too, as well as weight maintenance as we get older. All those things are important. And any pedometer will do. You know, the $5 pedometer will work. That'll work just as well for steps. All right, number 9, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. I talked to you about how the liver functions and the kidney functions and how we need water. That's important. So this is one recommendation. You hear a lot of them. This is one. Drink about half your ideal body weight in ounces of water a day. So we've heard that 64 ounces a day. That's not necessarily right for everybody or necessary for everyone. So if my ideal body weight is 120 pounds, then I need to have about 60 ounces of water a day. Make sense? So your ideal body weight. That doesn't mean the body weight you weigh now if you want to be lower, or if you need to gain weight, think of that, but in ounces of water. Now, it doesn't have to be all water. It could count as milk. It could count as that like Crystal Light you had with the water. That'll count. If you drink 3 cups of coffee a day, I wouldn't count all 3 cups of coffee because of the caffeine that's in there. You actually might have to drink more water because you are going to have a diuretic effect. You're going to lose some of that water. So don't count the coffee as an example, but milk, you can count your juice, you can count your regular water, you can count that in there. If you exercise, then you're going to have to drink more water. So what I recommend is to weigh yourself before you exercise, to weigh yourself after. And if you lose a pound, for every pound you lose, that's just sweat. That's not going to be body fat right away there. But for every pound that you lose, drink 20 to 24 ounces of water extra, in addition to the amount you normally need. And that will help make sure that you keep hydrated, okay, to the level you're supposed to be at. So hydration, very, very important. All right, number 10. Oddly enough, eating for exercise is important. So to make sure that you have enough energy to exercise the next day, what you eat right after exercise is very important. So it kind of depends on what time of day you exercise. Let's say I go out after work, so I get off at work at 4:30, I go exercise, I get home at 5:15, I'm probably going to eat dinner. It is much, much, much better for me to eat dinner in the next 30 minutes than it is for me to wait like 2 hours, okay? And what I eat is important as well. What they found is that there's stored energy in your muscles. It's called glycogen. So when you exercise, your body uses some of this stored energy for fuel, this glycogen. What they found is that if you eat within 30 minutes after you exercise, 30 minutes to 2 hours, they give a kind of a leeway, but especially within the first 30 minutes, that if you have carbohydrate within the first 30 minutes, you're more likely to have more of that glycogen stored tomorrow when you go exercise. So you're already going to eat dinner, just eat some of it, maybe not all of it, but eat some of it in that first 30 minutes. And that's where a drink might help. That's where, I don't know, I have the glass of milk, within 30 minutes of getting home. Or I have the banana on my drive home from work if I drive a far ways away to get home. So, and then within that next 2 hour span, have carbohydrate and protein. That's the key. Carbohydrate and protein. So most of us do that. I mean, for dinner, most of us will go home and we'll have chicken or tuna, or we'll have some fish or some meat or something, and we'll probably have potato, a bread, a roll, something. But if you're not in the habit of doing that, if you're in the habit of going home and having like a lettuce salad with tomatoes and broccoli and your salad dressing, and that's it, you don't have any protein on there, and you really don't have a lot of carbohydrate in there as well either. So that's not going to help you refuel for the next day when you go exercise. You're going to feel more lethargic the next day. So think about what you eat after you exercise, within that first 30 minutes to 2 hours. Protein and carbohydrate, that combination. Fantastic. So these are 10 things. Again, I'm not making you make drastic changes and cutting all these calories and taking out things in your diet. I'm just telling you to make like changes. Switch things around a little bit. Anything else? Great. Thank you for coming.